Have you ever noticed? Every time you sit down to eat, your dog always shows up, noiseless, not required, just sitting there. Look at you. Look at every bite of food you bring to your mouth, and you think it's begging for food. But no, the truth is, it's doing something completely different, something that most dog owners never really understand. And if you watch this video until the end, you will never look at those eyes the same way again. Let's start with the simplest thing. Yes, sometimes your dog wants food. That's instinct. Thousands of years ago, their ancestors lived alongside humans, not as pets, but as survivors. They wait for bits of food to fall from the campfire, waiting for the opportunity, waiting for people to accidentally share. And that instinct has never gone away. It just changes the context, from the wild forest to your kitchen. But this is what most people misunderstand. If a dog is really hungry, it won't sit still like that. It will move, licking your lips, looking at you constantly, even touching you. But if your dog just sits still, eyes follow every movement, strangely calm, then it is not just begging, it's waiting, patiently, in a ritualistic way. And that's when things start to get interesting. Because when you think it's looking at food, then actually it's looking at something else, something much more important, something you don't even realize. I'm accidentally giving it every day. Your dog doesn't live in the same world as you. To you, a day is a dozen things to do. You're constantly on the move, leaving the house, coming back, going from room to room. Everything is constantly changing. But to your dog, only one thing matters: where you are. In its eyes, you're not just the owner. You're the center of everything, the only thing that's stable in a world that's always changing. And then, every day, there's a moment that repeats itself, almost exactly. You sit down. You don't move. You don't leave. You're there, completely. That's when you eat. To you, it's just an ordinary meal. But to your dog, it's the most certain moment of the whole day, the moment it knows you won't disappear. That's why it appears the moment you sit down. Even before the food arrives, if you look closely, when you're cooking, it's already near you, not begging for food, not bothering you, just waiting. Not waiting for food, but waiting for you to stop. Because when you stop for it, you are truly there. And when it sits at your feet while you eat, that's not a coincidence. It's a ritual, a habit built from hundreds of repetitions. But more importantly, when it looks at you at that moment, it's not just looking at your presence. It's looking at another version of you, the version it loves most. There's something most people never realize. When you eat, your face changes. You relax more. Your shoulders slump. The stresses of the day disappear in minutes. You're no longer rushing, no longer overthinking. You become the gentlest version of yourself, and your dog sees it very clearly. Dogs don't just look at you, they read you, every little expression, every movement of your face. They know when you're sad, they know when you're stressed, they know when you're tired, and they also know when you're truly relaxed. When you eat, the way you chew slows down, your gaze softens. Sometimes, you even smile without realizing it. It's a version of you that they don't always get to see. So when they sit there, watching you eat, they're not just looking at the food. They're looking at you, observing you, remembering you. For them, it's a rare moment of peace, a moment when the most important person in their world is okay. And when you're okay, their world is okay too. That's why, sometimes just looking back at them, no need to feed them anything. They're still content. But deep inside, something else is going on, something older, something that existed long before your dog was even born. But there's a deeper layer, something unrelated to current emotions, something that has existed for tens of thousands of years, the pack instinct. The ancestors of dogs didn't live alone. They lived in packs. And in a pack, food isn't just food. It's a signal. When the pack leader eats, the whole pack watches, not because they're hungry, but to confirm something very important. Everything is okay. There's food. The pack leader is eating. There's no danger. The pack is still intact. And your dog still carries that system in its brain. It hasn't changed. It hasn't disappeared. So when you eat, a part of it is checking. Are you eating? Is there enough food? Is everything normal? And when it sits there, looking at you for the first few minutes, its gaze is very focused. That's not begging for food. It's confirmation of safety. You might notice many dogs just stare intently at first. Then they lie down, silent, relaxed, because they've checked it out. Everything is fine. You're not just eating. You're inadvertently sending a signal. We're fine. There's nothing to worry about. And for a species that relies on the safety of the pack, that's one of the most important signals. But even that isn't the deepest reason, because there's something even stronger than instinct. Not survival, no tabi, but bonding. The thing that makes every little action meaningful. But there's something else, a little more practical, and it might make you laugh. Your dog understands you more than you think, not just emotions, but behavior. Through hundreds, even thousands of times you eat in front of it, it has learned one very specific thing: when you will give in. It sounds funny, but think about it. There are times when you are very firm. You say no. You don't give it food. But there are also times you soften up. When you're watching TV, when you're happy, when you're eating your favorite food, and especially after a few minutes, your dog knows it. Not guessing, but learning. It has been watching you for a long time. It knows that if it sits a little closer, the chances are higher. It knows that if it stares a little longer, you'll start to feel guilty. It knows when to be quiet, when to breathe softly, when to tilt its head. That's not manipulation. It's intelligence. A very sophisticated form of learning, based on you. Actually, the way the dog looks at you when you eat isn't random. It's the result of hundreds of trials, hundreds of adjustments, until it found the most effective formula. And deep down, you know that too. You know what that look means. You know you might give in. And sometimes, you still do. Not because it needs the food, but because you like that feeling. The feeling of being needed by it. But even this is not the most important thing, because all of this still revolves around a surface thing. There is a deeper reason. A quieter one. A reason that, if you understand, you will never look at that moment the same way again. And here's the most important thing, something most people never think about. In the world of a dog, food is not just food. Food is love. The first bond it makes in life is with its mother, and that bond is built through being fed. Being fed means being protected, being kept, being accepted. And when it comes to you, you become the one who fills that role. Every time you feed it, you're not just feeding it, you're telling it something. You still belong to me. So, think back to the moment it looked at you while you were eating. It wasn't just looking at the food. It was looking at the most important person in its life, who was holding the thing that sustains life. And deep inside, it's asking a very simple question. Am I still here? Do you still want me here? Do you still love me? That's the question it asks you every day, not with words, but with its eyes. By the way, it follows you. By the way, it lies beside you. And also, when it sits and watches you eat. So, when you bend down, look back at it, and give it a small piece, you're not just giving it food. You're answering that question. Yes, you're still here. You still belong to me. And I still love you. That's why such a small act means so much. And that's also why, sometimes when you don't give, you see it lie down. Be a little quieter, not because it's hungry, but because, today, the answer isn't as clear as usual. So, next time your dog looks at you while you eat, don't just think it's begging for food. Understand that it's asking you a question. And every time you look back, every time you smile, every time you touch it, you're answering. If you understand this, try one thing. Next time you eat, call your dog's name, look into its eyes, and just smile. Then comment its name below, and tell me if you see a difference, because sometimes just one look is enough to change a relationship. And for them, Every glance is always a question.